Hello fellow cyborgs and welcome to 2016! Today's video is going to be all about saying goodbye to 2015, the glorious books or not so glorious books I read in that year, what I read, percentages, stuff like that, and then at the very end, my favorite books of 2015. So let's get started. So Goodreads and I keep simultaneous and yet different tracks of what I read in the year. I post everything on Goodreads, all like the cookbooks, all of the graphic novels, all of the children's books, but in like my own personal reading diary because yeah, I have one of those. I tend to leave out a bunch of stuff. I focus mostly on like novels, books of poetry, and children's books that I really did want to read rather than, oh, the library has that, I'll read it. I don't know. It's a thing. It's a thing. Who's to say which is more valid? All books are valid. All right, we're moving on. So between the two of us, about 175 books is what I read in 2015, which is fantastic. I think that's the most I've read ever in my entire life. And I'm pretty sure most of it is thanks to BookTube. So yay! Also, rough estimates. Out of those 175, I read about 45 children's or YA books, 30 comics, 28 nonfiction, 22 literary or classic or something that didn't fit into a genre per se, 20 science fiction or fantasy novels, 17 books of poetry, and 8 books of short stories. So that's quite a thingamajig. And yay for nonfiction and children's lit. So woohoo! Now, as far as star ratings go, I simultaneously rated more 5 stars than I thought I did and less 5 stars than I thought I did. And the key here is that I suppose in my mind, I value 5-star adult novels the most because I feel like those will continue on with me through my lifetime. So I didn't have quite as many 5-star adult novels, fiction novels that I wanted, which was a shame. However, I did have a buttload of 5 stars. I actually rated 34 things 5 stars in 2015. Most of them were comics, poetry books, and children's books. 34 5 stars in 2015. That's pretty darn awesome. There were 66 4 stars, which is also awesome. That means I didn't waste my money if I purchased it, and it was a romping good time. 57 3 stars, which, so that's like less than a third 3 stars. Cool. I'm good with that. 13 2 stars and no 1 stars. So there you go. So I only read like 13 complete wastes of time, so to speak, if you're going to go for there, but whatever. So out of breath. I'm so excited to be filming. It's just overwhelming. Now, one thing that is like a huge point of contention in the BookTube community is how much people haul versus how much people read, and the discrepancy between you just purchased 40 books and you just read 10 in a month, so maybe slow down. So I kept track of the books I hauled for you guys. I kept track of the ones I read, of the ones that I've hauled, and I also kept track of how I rated the ones that I read that I hauled. So I thought you might be interested in that. So I hauled 84 books for you in the year of 2015, which is really interesting considering that I didn't intend to buy a lot of books in 2015, but BookTube gets under your skin and you decide you need things. And I read 52 out of those 84. And that's pretty darn good, especially since most of those 84 happened in the second half of the year when I started getting really crazy on the book depository before we broke up. Video link down below. So I read 62% of the books I hauled for you. Out of those 52, 2 got 2 stars, 17 got 3 stars, 25 were given 4 stars, and 8 were given 5 stars. I want to keep 4 and 5 star books primarily. 3 and under, give away, or hopefully have just borrowed from the library. With that in mind, 37% of the books that I hauled and read, I could have not purchased because I gave them 3 stars or under. But a whopping 63% that I purchased, hauled, and read, I want to keep. So that's pretty darn fantastic, I think. Now, one last number thing, and then we are going to go into the favorites of the year. So my Bookolutions. If you recall the video I made for my 2015 Bookolutions, I wanted to read 12 books for my real life private book club. I succeeded. I wanted to read 12 nonfiction, also succeeded in there. I wanted to read 5 YA, yes. 5 classic sci-fi, you got it. 5 rereads, did it, barely. And 6 other, I had a bunch of other others. I also wanted to read 5 high fantasy. I failed on that one. I only read The Wise Man's Fear. I just wasn't into high fantasy, I guess, in 2015. I think I also was so excited to get into new reading materials, and a lot of high fantasy are very lengthy, pushing 1,000 pages, especially the ones in my bookcase, that I didn't want to spend the time on them, which is a shame, but maybe I'll read some more in 2016. Who knows? The only thing about my book illusions is that I put those specific numbers and those specific categories down as my 2015 book illusions because they were already on my shelves. Did I read the books on my shelves to fulfill those categories? Heck no, of course I didn't, because I'm me. And yes, so for instance, with the nonfiction, I have a bunch of blank and philosophy, pop culture, and philosophy books, and I wanted to read those in 2015, hence the nonfictions, but instead I borrowed books about cats, I borrowed books about death culture, all sorts of shenanigans happened, and I think definitely one. The Wise Man's Fear was on my high fantasy category, but I think the rest of the categories were filled with things that were impromptu reads that happened to fit. So I failed in my intent with the book illusions, and I also kind of failed in that I didn't complete the high fantasy challenge. However, I read a lot in 2015, and I liked a lot of what I read in 2015, which is a perfect transition into my favorites of 2015. Okay, so I had to pull from my 5 stars, but then I snuck 1 4-star in here because of how significant it is to my change of reading tastes. So why don't we just get on with it? In the course of 2015, I read 2 nonfiction memoirs by Jenny Lawson. Let's Pretend This Never Happened, a mostly true memoir, and Furiously Happy. So both are written they are comedy memoirs about Jenny Lawson's ridiculous life with her taxidermy father, 6-foot-tall rusty chicken garden decorations, mental illness can kind of make things funny sometimes, even though it's not a laughing matter, etc. All the shenanigans surrounding Jenny Lawson's ridiculous life. And it was so much fun. And I listened to the audiobook for both occasions of these, and I found it absolutely delightful. I don't know, obviously, what my experience would have been if I had read them rather than listened to them, but it was such a joy to hear the stories of her life from Jenny Lawson's own lips. It was absolutely fantastic. And I gave 5 stars to both, and needless to say, any and everything she comes out with, I will give a listen or a read to, because Jenny Lawson, heck yes. Heck yes. Next on the favorite books of 2015 list is Deathless by Catherine M. Valente. And this is on the list because it cemented Valente in my oh yes, authors I probably will purchase without a second thought list. I first read her in 2014, the very end of 2014. I read The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. I adored it. It's amazing. Deathless was the first non-Fairyland book by Valente that I read, and it was amazing. It's a blend of Russian history, folklore, fairy tale, all wrapped up in the life of Maria Morevna. I will link down below the review I did of it. In the review video, I say I gave it 6 out of 5 stars, and it's just so well done. A perfect example of Valente and her creepy mixed with her beautiful, mixed with her weird, mixed with the fairy tale and the whimsical, and with her smarts and beautiful writing style. So yes, Deathless was of course going to be on this list. Seriously, this is just kind of, I'm too excited. I don't know how to cope. Okay. Next book on the list is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, because yes. Okay, so I read this in December, just snuck in at the end of 2015, and I read it in my personal book club. I made my friends read it. This is just amazing. Like, It sucked me into the story so acutely. My palms were sweating. I might have been having heart palpitations. There were points in this where I felt like, oh, I had killed someone. This is a problem. I'm gonna be arrested. And then I had to remind myself, no, you didn't do any killing this week. Thank goodness. No, you're fine. I'm so utterly, entirely impressed with Donna Tartt's writing style, and I will eventually read The Goldfinch at least, if not The Little Friend as well. And the reason why this is on the list, besides it being flippin' fantastic, is that BookTube brought this to me. If BookTube had not, if I had not heard everyone practically who has met and read this book say, oh my gosh, this book, I don't think I would have put it as a priority, wouldn't have bought it, wouldn't have read it, and then I wouldn't have had all of those wonderful anxiety feelings while reading this book. BookTube can bring joy and anxiety into your lives, but wonderfully enjoyable anxiety, because good literature. The Secret History. I'm going to be filming a really spoilerific review of this. The spoiler fez will yet again be on film, so keep an eye out for that because I have so much I need to talk about. The next books I want to talk about is a children's series, or middle grade, however you want to talk about it. It is the How to Train Your Dragon books by Cressida Cowell, and these are my favorite audiobooks of the year. All of these audiobooks are read by David Tennant in wonderful Scottish accents, many different, amazing, distinct voices. They are all, I think, under 7 hours long. They're fun little romps. I read the first 10 listened to and read the first 10 in 2015, and they got me through many sleepless nights. And they're just so incredibly enjoyable, and I will probably re-listen to them again and again and again. The How to Train Your Dragon audiobooks and the Skullduggery Pleasant audiobooks narrated by Rupert Degas are definitely the audiobooks that I recommend everyone to try if you're interested in children's fiction, but also if you're interested in getting into audiobooks, because they're incredibly engaging and really easy to understand what's going on and keep up with what's going on because it's middle grade fiction. But that doesn't take away from the quality of the entertainment in the audiobooks. So yes, Cressida Cowell, David Tennant, dragons. The Most Beautiful Children's Book Award for 2015 goes to Swan, written by Laura Snyder, I believe, illustrated by Julie Morstad, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite children's book illustrators ever. This is absolutely beautiful illustration and story-wise. I need my own copy desperately. It needs to happen, and I think everyone should read it like you. Best Comic of the Year goes to Pretty Deadly Volume 1, No One Is Surprised. This is written by written, illustrated, inked, colored by a wonderful team of women, and it is the Wild Wild West meets folklore meets storytelling. There's a bit of naked times in there, which never bothered anyone. This didn't bother me. Beautifully illustrated, really engaging. When are we going to get volume 2? I don't know. There's talk on the internet that maybe it will, maybe it won't. But in either case, this was amazing. Death is a character, which is also one of the huge pluses for me. And I think I read it twice in 2015. You should probably check it out. Just saying. The Best Poetry Collection goes to Life on Mars by Tracy K. Smith. This made me cry. It got 5 stars. It made me cry. And there's awesome spacey themes in there playing around with the language. And there's also references to David Bowie. She talks about her father, who I think had recently died when she was writing the collection, who was a science guy. That was his career was in the sciences, and it was really, really good. And I also need my own copy. And why don't I have one already? Maybe I should order stuff after I film this video. We'll see. But yeah, Life on Mars was my favorite poetry collection. However, the best poem of the year goes to Langleave in Love and Misadventure, and the poem is called A Stranger. And get ready, I'm reading to you now. A stranger. There is a love I reminisce, like a seed I've never sown, of lips that I'm yet to kiss and eyes not met my own, hands that wrap around my wrists and arms that feel like home. I wonder how it is I miss these things I've never known. So that was the poem when I was reading this collection where I was just like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to you, Langleave. There you go. That was the best poem of the year for me, and thank you very much, Langleave. The best Persephone book of 2015 goes to Consider the Years by Virginia Graham, which is a book of wartime poetry. I will link down below my review for this so you can understand why this got 5 stars, because it did, and it was really good, and yes, Persephone, do it again! The only 4-star that makes it onto the best of 2015 list is Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, and this makes it onto the list even with only 4 stars, which is still a very admirable number, because Norwegian Wood solidified the fact that I would like to read more Japanese fiction, more Japanese authors, and specifically more Haruki Murakami. So thank you very much, Norwegian Wood, because yes. Right now I'm listening to The Wind-Up Bird Chronicles by Haruki Murakami, which is narrated by Rupert Degas. Yes, and it is so good. And the moment we have all been waiting for. The best novel of 2015 for me is The Rabbitback Literature Society, written by Pasi Ilmari Jaskalainen and translated by Lola M. Rogers. This has practically all of the elements that my perfect book would have in it, and it's written really well. There's a snip of magical realism tucked in. There's this weirdo like mystery happening throughout the entire plot, but it's not a mystery per se. It's just like awesome literary fiction. I talk about it quite a bit more coherently in my autumn reading wrap up. So in here, it's got winter, Finnish landscape, authors, writing, libraries, reading. It also mixes in really important topics like Alzheimer's. It's just done so well, so quirky and whimsical. You don't know you're being wowed until you put it down and you're like, that happened. Yes. So read it. I think you should, because it's awesome. And it's perfect for winter. And it's still winter, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So get on that. So I want to apologize for that video because I haven't filmed in a while and I was really excited and I got really obnoxious at some points. So I hope you enjoyed anyway. That was my year of reading in review. I want to thank all 730 something of you for being here because that's awesome. And I think I started out 2015 with like 20 subscribers, so that's a heck of a growth. And I also just want to thank so many of you because BookTube has been like the highlight of 2015. It has been the most fun, the most excitement, and the most enjoyment and peace and relaxation that I have been able to consistently achieve in 2015. And for me, that's a big deal. So thank you very much. I hope that you had as prosperous of a reading year in 2015 as I seem to have had. Would you please leave me in the comments down below the title of your favorite book of 2015? I would love to hear it. And until next time, continue to be lovely.